الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم تسليما كثيرا أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ينفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمتنا بما ينفعنا وزدنا علما وعملا نقرب إليك به. اللهم أسألك آتنا أنفسنا تقواها وزكاها وأنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها يا رب العالمين. اللهم أسألك الهدى والتقى والغنى وعفاف. اللهم أسألك يغفر لنا ذنوبنا ويكفر عن سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ثم ما بعد. Inshallah wa ta'ala, tonight is our first humble attempt with some of the narrations, some of the asanid المتصلة إلى الإمام أبي بكر ابن أبي شيبة رحمه الله تعالى. ونسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن أعون منه سبحانه وتعالى. May Allah make it easy to seek His help. Inshallah tabarak wa ta'ala. We want to try to benefit from the Musaanaf of Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba. There's some mix-up in the schedule on my part. The Jumu'ah Friday night class should have been Sheikh Sahih Muslim, and I did Sheikh Sahih Muslim on Wednesday. So that means that last night my intention was to do this class, Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, and then tonight would have been Musannaf Abdur Razaq as-San'ani. So tonight is kind of like makeup for last night, and inshallah next week will be on schedule. Hopefully I won't make that mistake. Wednesday will be and Ma'ba Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba rather than Sahih Muslim. Then Thursday will be Aqidah wa Fiqh Imam Abi Abdurrahman ibn Hadi al-Waliyu. And then Friday will be Sheikh Sahih Muslim al-Nawawi, the commentary of Sheikh Umar Falata. And then if we make it to see Saturday next week, then we'll be on schedule with the Musannaf of Abdur Razaq as-San'ani. Now, so tonight we're going to take some narrations in the chapter of marriage. The chapter of marriage. And I'm taking what I found. It's not in order. Sometimes they upload the way they want to upload. It's not like I have the book and I'm reading. So alhamdulillah, we benefit how we benefit, inshallah. We said before that Imam Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba هو الشيوخ كثير. He's the shuyukh. He's هو sheikh آسف هو sheikh من كثير. He's the sheikh of many. And he's the student of some of the great ulama that came before him. He's some of the teachers of the great ulama that came after him. He's also the great student of many that came before him. So we talk about talk about those students that were from his students that are great ulama in all of the kutub sitta, meaning Bukhari, Muslim, Abi Dawood, Tirmidhi, and Imam al-Nasai, and Majah. They're from his students. So you're going to find him in all of their asanid. You're going to find him in all of their chains. And you'll find him narrating on the likes of Mada, Barakallahu Fikum, Imam Malik ibn Anas, or Yahya ibn Yahya. You'll find him narrating on the likes of Sufyan, والثور والعيينة, the two Sufyans. You'll find him narrating on some of the great ulama that was his shuyukh. So the Musaanaf ibn Abi Shayba, you're going to hear him mentioning narrations that, or the statements of the companions. And then you'll find some statements that the companions said, the Prophet this, the Prophet that, but you'll find the statements of the companions. So this is one of the major books that I might have mentioned. You want to know the Athar, the Aqwal al-Sahaba, go to the Musaanaf ibn Abi Shayba. And all of these people, the likes of him, Ibn Abi Shayba, and his brother, he has a brother named Uthman Ibn Abi Shayba, they are from the three generations. They're from the Qurun, Mufaddala, the blessed generations, not those that the Prophet ﷺ said, Khayr Qarni, Khayr, best, Khayr Qarni, the best generation, Qarni, my generation, meaning those who was the Prophet ﷺ. So you're going to mention Abu Bakr, and Umar, and Uthman, and Ali, and the Sahaba, الصغار منهم والكبير منهم, the ones who were the elders and the young ones, the ones that were the older ones and the young ones. Like Ali was the younger one, because Umar was the younger one. كذلك ماذا الزبير بن عوام from the Sahaba of the Prophet, Abdullah ibn Zubayr from the Sahaba of the Prophet, but he's from the Sagar Sahaba. Now, so all of their narrations will be like in this book, the Abdullahs, meaning Mas'ud, Ibn Abbas, where you mentioned Ibn Umar, he's from the Abdullah. There will be, those narrations will be in the likes of these books. And narrations, Mad Jabir bin Abdullah, narrations of Mad, any companion, male or female, you're going to find in this book, Musaanaf ibn Abi Shayba, rahimahullah ta'ala. Because the Prophet ﷺ said, Khayr al-Qarni, Khayr قرني خير قرني خير Salam mentioned خير القرون قرني, the best of generations, my generation. Then he said ثم الذين يَلُونَهُمْ. So thumma means something that comes after something. So خير القرن يعني خير القرون يعني قرون means generations. قرنين would be مضاف إليه. So خير القرن قرني. But the two qarnis, one of them means generation, the other means my generation, because you have to say خير قرني, like Rasulullah. So that kasra on that first qarni doesn't mean my generation, it means generation, the best generation. Khayru qarni, then qarni, you got to elongate, it means my generation. Or you could say that the other word, that khayru qurun means generations, the best of the generations. Qarni, there's two words from Salam said both. And he said, thumma ladina yalunahum, those who follow after me. That's the tabi'in. That's the tabi'in. So when we say tabi'in, we're talking about يعني ماذا ابن مالك ابن Anas. You're talking about Ibrahim al-Nakhai. Now you're talking about Barakallahu Fikum, Hasan al-Basri, who was raised in the house of Salama. Now you're talking about Sa'id ibn Jubair. Now these are the tabi'in. You're talking about Mujahid, يعني ibn Mujahid. Now and what Tawus ibn Qaysan. You're talking about Ikramah. You're talking about the likes of Anas ibn Rabi'. These are the tabi'in, the students of the Sahaba. Then we talk about itba' at-tabi'in. Then that's when we talk about Abi Hanifa. Although some people try to say Abi Hanifa was from the tabi'in, it's more like to be said in the books from the itba' at-tabi'in, because he took from the tabi'in. And the tabi can take from the tabi, but they also look at when he was born. You know, it's their tabaqat, there's levels of generations. So you have Abi Hanifa, itba'. You have Imam Muslim, it's in that generation, Bukhari, all of the Qutb al-Sitta, they in that generation. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, Yahya bin Ma'in, Abdur al-Mahdi, Sayyid ibn Qattan, ibn Yahya, Nan, who was the one who narrates the most of Imam Malik, Yahya ibn Yahya, Nam al-Malik, والنافع مول ابن عمر عن ابن عمر. Now, Yahya ibn Yahya, the one who narrates in the chains of the Sahih Muslim directly from Imam Malik, he narrates the most. Aflayt ibn Sa'd, Naam, Al-Qama, all of these great people, Mother, you have how could I forget when we talk about tabi'in? You have Waqi' ibn Jarrah. You have Mada. You have so many. Shu'ba ibn Hajjaj from tabi'in. Now, Allah musta'an, hasbunallah wa wakil. They're talking about Mada, A'raj, and A'mash. From the tabi'in, Allahu Akbar, Mi'ran, you have all of these great people from the three generations. Amazing. So this is that book. When you want to know what they said, Salaf, you got to go to the Musnad Ibn Abi Shaykh. There's other books, but this is one of the main ones. One of the main ones. Now, and the Masaanaf Abdur Razaq, Al-Sun'ani, Na'am. When you want to know what the Itba' Tabi'in said, and like this, is narrating, MashaAllah, Tabarakallah. These are the books. This is how you learn the Qawad, the Aqidah, the Fiqh, the Tarajah, the predominancy, the creed, the rulings, the aqwal, the deen of the Salaf, these books. Musnad ibn Abi Shayba, and Musannaf ibn Abi Shayba, and Musannaf of Abdur Razaq al-San'ani. These two main books. So, chapter Tabarak wa Ta'ala that we're going to try to take from tonight, Kitab al-Nikah, what tasweej from the word zawaj, what tasweej from zawaj, tasweej. Man kana ya'muru bihi wa yuhussu an. Yeah. So the chapter, Kitab al-Nikah, the book of marriage, it says weej concerning performing and marrying the one. Man kana ya'muru bihi wa yuhussu alayhi. I read when we huslu alayh. So this is the chapter of marriage, and the one who is going to be involved in a marriage. And it's concerning those that the command refers to huslu alayh, huslu alayh, and they're going to be encouraged by many statements to marry because of the narrations that reach them. So the chapter of marriage, and the one who's going to engage in tasweej means he's going to do the act of marrying. And this is going to be more pointed towards the command, the different wordings that make you and give you ambition and hope and vigor towards trying to engage in marriage, the things that encourage you. Imam Abi Bakr Abi Shayba rahimahullah ta'ala حدثنا معاذ ibn حدثنا معاذ بن معاذ عن ابن جريج ميمون أبي مبصص عن ابن أبي نجيح أنه قال ابن أبي نجيح قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من كان محصرا Now, go back. Man kana muhsiran. You have muhsiran and muhsiran. Muhsiran is ease from yusr. Man kana muhsiran. Whoever it's made easy for him, the Prophet said, وَأَنْ يَنْكَحْ, that he may get married. فَلَا يَنْكَحْ, but he doesn't get married. من كان محصرا أن ينكح فلم ينكح فليس منا. So the Sheikh, he read it twice. This is Sheikh Majdi al-Arafa from our ulama. Now, so this narration, you go back and take this narration from the beginning, very important. This is the book of marriage, and regarding the one who the command reaches him, and he is inspired to do it. He's inspired to do it. So you have two things. The one who's inspired to do it, and he does it. That's the chapter. He's inspired to do it, but he may be inspired and he doesn't do it. He may be inspired and he doesn't do it. He may be inspired and he doesn't. He's inspired meaning he heard the narrations that should encourage him. He hears the narration that should make him think about it. He hears the narration that should make him decide, but he doesn't do it. Imam Abi Bakr Abi Shaybi says, Haddathna Mu'adh ibn Mu'adh. That means that's his sheikh, Mu'adh ibn Mu'adh. One of his shuyukh. Just like Imam Muslim ibn Hajjaj, Abi Bakr ibn Abi Shaybi is his sheikh, who is one of the shuyukh of Imam Abi Bakr Abi Shaybi, Mu'adh ibn Mu'adh. That's why I said, Haddathana Mu'adh ibn Mu'adh. When we said again, Haddathana, it was said to us, Hadith, to speak. Hadathtu, I spoke. Hadathta, you spoke. Hadathti, she spoke. Now, Hadathana, we spoke, past tense. Well, they said Hadathana, used the plural again, meaning it was, said to me. So, قال الشيخ أبو بكر بن شيبة حدثنا معاذ بن معاذ. The Sheikh told him, معاذ بن معاذ, عن ابن جريج. نعم, عن ابن جريج. ابن جريج, نعم, ابن جريج. Sometimes you hear Ibn Jurayj narrating on the Ibn Abi Malayka. If you hear Ibn Jurayj on Ibn Abi Malayka, most of the time the hadith is da'if. إذا كان في سنة Ibn Abi Jurayj and Abi Malayka, ماذا تعلم أن هذا إسناد ضعيف يروي عن Ibn Abi Malayka, Ibn Jurayj. Here he narrates of Maymun Abu Muwallis. Maymun Abi Muwallis. And Ibn Abi Najih. أنه قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. If he says أنه قال, that he said قال رسول الله, then that means a sentence متصل إلى النبي, saying the Prophet said. Now, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. We said before, many ulama, they said if a person, the text says قال رسول الله, the messenger says, but he says قال النبي, the prophet, doesn't say Rasulullah. This is the same person. The same person that said لا بأس الحديث ثبت لا يضر إذا كان أخطأ. If you have a shake, if a person makes a mistake in that regard, he should have said Rasulullah, but he says النبي. No problem. But this is something that happens, and we just mentioning from the ulama of hadith that doesn't hurt the hadith in that regard, that mistake, that type of mistake, while there are some mistakes that could hurt the acceptance of that narration from that person. Man kana muqsiran. So the hadith of Ibn Abi Najih, where he said that the Prophet said, Man kana muqsiran, whoever it's made easy for him. It's a person that Allah has blessed and facilitated for him. And yankah, that it's easy for him to get married. What does this mean? من كان مقصرا أن ينكح. He has all of the things in place. Number one, in the whole, يعني ba'at. Ba'at, as the Prophet mentioned, the hadith of Bukhari Muslim, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. من استطاع, يعني يا معشر الشباب, all you group of young, energetic men, من استطاع منكم, whoever has istita'iyya, ability. من استطاع منكم, يعني الباء, يعني فليتزوج. And he has al-ba'a, then let him marry. So the ulama, they mentioned the likes of that hadith. This yani, shows a person has the ability. Because the Prophet said, whoever has the ability. In this narration of Ibn Abi Najih, it said, whoever yani, muqsiran, and kana muqsiran, it's easy for him. So the meaning is the same. Because istita'iyya means that you have everything that marks you, checks the boxes for you to get married. And it's not just the private part of physical anatomy of the body, physiologically, you have the ability to perform. The scholars, they mentioned it because the Prophet would have said, whoever has the ability. And he's talking to young people normally that are strong, energetic, and they have hormones jumping all over the place. But here the Prophet said in the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud, wal ba'a. Ba'a means you have, they said, it's the ta'imaliya. You have the ability with some level of wealth, because you're going to need some level of wealth to marry. Here the Prophet said, man kana muqsiran, whoever is the one that it has been made easy for him, facilitated. This includes the wealth part. This includes the wealth part. Because the Prophet just said, everybody would jump and get married. But the one who doesn't have yusran, it's not easy for him. It's not talking about that person's physical ability. That's part of it. But here what the Prophet is talking about, not the physical ability, because that's understood. He's talking to youth that outwardly don't have any problems of impotentness and not being able to have what it takes as a young man to impregnate. But he's talking about the combination of that and some physical ability. Here in this narration, he said, "Man kana muqsiran," whoever Allah has made it easy for him. It's a person, no problem. Meaning, he has wealth, he has the ability physically, he himself can do it, but the Prophet ﷺ was saying, but he doesn't get married. Man kana muqsiran liyankih falam yankih falaysa minna. But he doesn't marry, then he's falaysa minna. He's not from amongst us. The ulama, they mentioned, there's a lot of hadith where the Prophet said either falaysa minna, he's not from us, or falaysa minni, he's not from me. Again, when you use the pronoun nahnu, if it's unattached, it's a pronoun. Or it's not, which is a pronoun that's attached. It's either attached to a word like jalasna, that means we sat. The na on the end is we. If I say nahnu jalisun, then it's unattached. Nahnu means we, and jalisun shows what we're doing, we're sitting. But if I say jalasna al-an, we're sitting right now, but it's in the past tense. But it means now. It's like a tabarak wa ta'ala siyadladina amanu idha kumtum ila salati faqsilu wujuhakum wa aydiyakum ila al-marafiq wamsiku bi ru'usikum wa arjulakum ila al-ka'bayn. Here Allah said idha kumtum ila salat. Kumtum yani qama yani kumtum yani naam. This is a past tense verb. Qama, he stood. Kuntum, you all stood. So Allah in the ayah is not saying, when you already stood and prayed, go back and make wudu. It doesn't make sense. Wudu is a shart li sihhatu salat. It's a prerequisite to make your salat accepted, to make it right. You have to do it before. But Allah Azza wa Jalla said, إِذَا كُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, meaning إِذَا أَرَادَ أَنْ يُصَلِّي, if any believer wants to pray. So here if I said نَحْنُ جُلُوسٌ الْآن, we're sitting now, or I said جَلَسْنَا الْآن, it's almost like I'm saying we said past tense now. Doesn't make sense. But the جَلَسْنَا means now. In the past tense form, it means now. جَلَسْنَا الْآن, we're sitting now. But it's equal to Majdi, بِمَعْنَا يعني مضارع. It's in the past tense construct, but it means presently we're sitting now. So likewise, when the hadith comes again, the Prophet said, فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, sometimes it doesn't mean he's saying he's not from amongst us, the Muslims. Sometimes it means he's not from me. It's clearer when he says, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, ya udifil al-mutakallim. The ya is tied to the one who's speaking. If we say binti, my daughter, ibni, my son, ummi, my mother, abi, my father, baiti, my place where I live, sayarati, yani my vehicle, sojati. So all of this is talking about you. So the Prophet said in some hadith, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, he's not from me, meaning he's a kafir. In some narration also, فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, it could mean he's saying the same thing in the plural form, he's not from me, or he could say he's not from amongst us, meaning just that, he's not from amongst us. So what does that mean? He's not from amongst me, he's not in my sunnah, he's not a Muslim. فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, he's not a Muslim, he's a kafir, he's a Buddhist, he's a Hindu, he's a Jew, he's a Christian, he's an atheist. What does this mean? فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, he's not from me, he's not from us. The ulama, they said here, doesn't mean a takfir. Doesn't mean that the Prophet is saying the person left Islam. لَيْسَ بِمَعْنَا رِدَّةً مِنَ الدِّينِ. It doesn't mean the person apostated. فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, meaning he's not from amongst us, those people that follow my sunnah. That person, he himself, yanharif min sunnati rasulillah. He deviated from the sunnah of the Prophet. That's the first meaning of laysa minna, or falaysa minni. He's not from amongst me, meaning I can't vouch for him what he's doing. He did something in contradiction to my guidance. The second thing, the ulama, they said, whenever you see a hadith, read a hadith, hear a hadith that says, فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, فَلَيْسَ مِنِّي, he's not from amongst us, which could mean again, he's not from amongst those who follow my way. Or he's not from amongst us, meaning the Muslims who follow my way. Or laysa minni, he's not from me, meaning he's not from my followers, he's not from the people of my sunnah. They said this is an indication that thing is a major sin. It's a major sin. So you have words, you have highlights, you have indicators of major sins. One of them, if shaitan is mentioned, anything the shaitan name is in, know that that thing is a major sin. You can burn in hell if you die on it, if Allah doesn't forgive you. If the hellfire is mentioned, adhab an-nar, the punishment of the fire, as-sa'ir, any of the names of the hellfire, jahannam, yani jahim, yani any of those names or the names of the hellfire attached to action, that's an indication, a clear clue for us that's a major sin. If Allah told you He will punish you, and the messenger gives the punishment as well. If Allah says that you're cursed, and the Prophet says what Allah says, you're cursed if you do that action. This showed you it's a major sin. Showed you it's a major sin. So here when the Prophet said, فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, he's not from amongst us, or he's disassociated with me, means he's a Muslim, but he deviated. He's a Muslim, he did a major sin. He's a Muslim, I can't vouch for him, except on the day of judgment, I'll be able to vouch for him when Allah allows me to intercede for all of my ummah, all of the Muslims, including the sinners. So here, whoever he has the ability, the ease, has come to that person. Allah made it easy. Yeah, and he has all of the things that will allow him to marry. That person is a Muslim. Because you have to be a Muslim firstly if we're talking about marrying a Muslim lady. And we have to include the Muslim lady. This is the problem in this day and time. Many Muslims, when they talk about marriage, they exclude the Muslim lady, they go right to the kafir. And they say, oh, she's kitabiyah. She's a person of the book. Didn't Allah Ta'ala allow Muslim men to marry the people of the book, meaning they were given the book before. They are Jew and Christian, but they excommunicate, they exclude the Muslim lady. Here we have to include the Muslim lady. So that means this man has to be a Muslim. The man that the Prophet is talking about in this hadith, the same young man the Prophet was talking about in front of them, and he called them and he gave them advice. Oh, you young men, he's talking about Muslim men. So that man is Muslim, number one. Number two, he is person who's aql. He has intellect. He lays to be majnoon. He's not insane. And the person, obviously speaking, is not touched by a jinn. He doesn't have, obviously, jinn inside of him, controlling him, which would make you crazy as well. Number three, the man is at the age of puberty. He's baligh. He's reached the age of discerning. He's not a little boy. He can discern between what's right and what's wrong. Number three, now he has the ability physically to want to have relations. So the Prophet told Jabir, did you look at her? Jabir said, no. He said, go look and see that which will make you that which will make you desire her. So Jabir went and looked from behind the tree while the lady was washing clothes, and he seen her calves showing that she was washing clothes. Everything was covered, but her calf showed. So that showed, how her structure, if she's thin, if she's built, if she's thick like this. So the raqba, the desire, the man has that. But he also has al-ba'a. He has some means, some place, some way to take care of the lady. So the Prophet mentioned this in this narration, Ibn Abi Najih, that the Prophet ﷺ, man kana mu'siran, whoever is easy for him, he is the one Allah has made it easy for him. And yankih, that he may marriage. Falam yankih, but he doesn't get married. Falaysa minni. Falaysa minna, pardon me. Falaysa minna. So this means it's a major sin. If Allah makes it easy for you to get married, and you don't get married, then this is a major sin. And the Prophet said, Falaysa minna. And he cannot vouch for that. You went against the Sunnah. That's why Uthman ibn Affan, when he asked the Prophet, can I purposely not get married and just engross myself in worship? And he wants to be like a monk. The Prophet told him, no, you can't be like a monk. Just purposely stay away from women and fast and pray in the night and do acts of worship. No. Because Uthman had the ability. Uthman had the wealth. Uthman had the physical ability. He had the desire for women. But he wanted to do something else. The Prophet told him no, because had he been the one who didn't get married, and he's mu'siran, he has the ability, Allah made it easy for him, the Prophet said, وَلَمْ يَنْكِحْ فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا, and he's not from amongst us, meaning he went against my sunnah. It's a major sin. I can't vouch for him. maybe on the day of judgment, I'll be able to get them out of trouble. Now, Ibn Abi Shayba, he says, حدثنا Ibn Mubarak, نعم. معبد عن الزهري عن سعيد بن المسيب عن سعد ibn Abi Waqqas أن رسول الله عليه السلام said that the Prophet sallam يعني Radda ala Uthman. Radda, meaning he rejected, turned down Uthman's idea to stay away from marriage. And that narration again is in the Bukhari and the Muslim. So here you have this narration of again the Salaf, the Tabi'een, and the Sahaba mentioning these positions. The Prophet forbade Uthman. He told the Prophet told Uthman he could not stay away from marriage to be a monk. تبتلوا ولو أردت شيئا خير منعه الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم رد هذا من عثمان بن عفان رضي الله تعالى. He forbade him for that. قال حدثنا أبي معاوية عن الأعمش هو سليمان بن مهران. Now Amash, and they call it Amash because Amash in Arabic means you have cold. Call it eye buckets. And Amash was blind. He's from the scholars, mashallah, of his generation, very serious about the religion. And this, he is from the he's from the Rijal, Kutub Sitta. He's in all of the narrations, the chains. He's in the chains of Bukhari, Muslim, Abi Dawood, Imam Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, Amash. Ibrahim al-Nakhai. Ibrahim al-Nakhai. And Al-Qama. He said, Kuntu amshi ma Abdullah. And the Prophet he ran to Uthman, talaqi Uthman. He said, what is it that you're talking about with your friend there? He said, yeah, about the Rahman. And here, Abdullah is, he said, Allah is a wijika jarian. Will you not, can I not marry to a young girl that I have in my custody? He said, maybe I will remind you of something. She would be able to take Shall I not marry to a young girl? You're up in age now. لعلها تذكرك عدم من زماني, which it will remind you of something that you were didn't do before. He said, if you were to say that you don't want to marry, you have the ability, although you're up in age now. Had you said no, he said, I would have reminded you what the Prophet said. And he said, yeah, ma'ashar al-shabab, or you group of young men, من استطاع منكم الباء فليتزوج. He said that the Prophet told the young group of people, O young group of men, whoever from amongst you has the ability and some way to marry financially, then let him marry. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضَّ لِلْبَصَرِ. It is that which will help you look away from women the most. And here the Prophet and the Ashram, the Faraj, and will keep a person's privates from being in the haram. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. Wait a minute. So this narration that is being narrated, it doesn't say anything about the private part. The narration of the Bukhari Muslim, the Prophet said, فَإِنَّهُ أَحْصَنُ لِلْبَصَرِ وَأَحْصَنُ لِلْفَرَجِ. وَأَنَّهُ that it's the thing that is most effective for not looking at the women. And Agad and Basra. Agad means the most thing that will take your eyes away from looking. Yes, Rasulullah is saying this because Allah mentioned this in the Quran. قُلِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّ أَبْصَارَهُمْ. And say to the believing men, O Muhammad, to lower their gaze. Allah said the same thing to the women. قُلِ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ say to the believing women, يَغُضُّنَّ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. Let them lower their gaze. So here the Prophet is saying that in this narration, but he doesn't say the second part, which even in the ayat Allah mentions the faraj, the private part. What you see encourages a person, and it lights and flames and gets his desires going. So this narration only mentions that the marriage will take the vision away. It will lessen. It is the most lessening thing, the most profitable thing to make you not look, to make you lower or look the other way, to not look at those women that are not lawful for you. But it doesn't mention faraj in this narration. In the hadith in the Bukhari Muslim, the Prophet said, وَإِنَّهُ also this faraj. And it is the most sanctifying way to sanctify privates, meaning marriage. And then all of them have whoever can't marry, then the Prophet said he commands you to fast. Why? Because for that one who can't get married, it will weaken his desire. So the word wijah means like basically someone who castrates a person, cuts off their private part. So the Prophet used that word to show you will be too weak to think about intercourse or sex or wanting to be with somebody. If you fast enough, it will weaken that desire. So thus you won't even be looking around. Like the whole issue of marrying is to keep you from looking around, keep you from playing around. And if you can't marry, then the issue is to fast because it will weaken the desires. The whole thing here is desires to be with somebody, to marry. If you go back to okay, tape. So I narrated it wrong. Let me go back. Okay, so the narration. Al-Qama said, كنت أمشي مع عبد الله. Laqiya Uthman. And they ran to Uthman. Al-Qama was his tabi. Actually, yeah, Al-Qama was with, they were walking on Mina. So this means during the rule of Uthman. Can yamshi ma'Abdullah fi Mina. They walking on Mina while they're in Hajj. فَلَقِيَ Uthman. They ran into Uthman. فَقَالَ مَعْهُ يُحَدِّثُهُ. So he was talking, with him, and he said, قال له Uthman. So Uthman said to Abdur Rahman. Abdur Rahman, this is the kunya of Umar ibn Abdullah ibn Umar. Abdur Rahman is the nickname of Ibn Umar al-Khattab, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So Uthman said to him, should I not marry you to someone I have as a ward in the jung? Shabata, she's young. Shabata, she's invigorated. Shabata, she's pretty. ذهب ببعض ما ذكر مضى, that she will take off your mind those things of the past that you worry about. She will relieve you from all of your worries, in other words. Min zamani, from a long time ago. And then, Abdullah, he said, when kuntu dhali amma ana when kunta dhali, he said, if you say so, he said, فَقَدْ قَالَ لَنَا رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. He said, because the Prophet said to us, alayhi salatu salam, Ya ma'shar al-shabab, all you group of young men, مَا اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمُ وَالْبَاءَ فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ. Whoever from amongst you is youthful and he has the means to get married, then let him do so. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضْ لِلْبَصَرِ, because it is the thing that is most able to bring and lower a man's vision, to take him away from staring at women. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ, and whoever does not have the ability, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ, then it is upon him. فَعَلَيْهِ means it's wajib. فَعَلَيْهِ means it's wajib. فَعَلَيْهِ the sawm, and it's wajib, he has to fast. فَإِنَّهُ لَهُ وِجَاءً, because this will be, it will serve for him as castration. It will weaken his desires. We will be looking all around, and maybe, not only that minor sin, as looking at women, that's a minor sin. Just looking at a woman. Now, if you're looking, Allah musta'an, at something, because again, sins has levels. So you're just looking at a woman, wow, she's pretty. Tell you. But if you're talking about looking at pornography, then this is worse. This becomes a major sin, because now this is radil. This is radil lil ghaya. You're looking not just at someone's beauty and staring, but you're looking at their nudity. That's worse. Looking at a person just because you look at them is not a sin. The eyes are made to look. But if you look with the lustful desire, I wish I had that woman. She's pretty. Now that's a sin, but that's a minor sin. Lady, look at the man. There's no sin on her. The nature of the eyes to look. But she's, they fantasize. Well, I wish I had him. He's fine. Okay. Oh, I could do this with him. Oh, man. Oh, he's so pretty. She's thinking this in her mind. She doesn't say it. That's a sin. It's a minor sin. But if them same two individuals, a'udhu billah, were naked, that sin becomes bigger. Because now you're looking at the faruj, you look at the private parts. If they engage in some illicit sexual acts, pornography is wicked, filthy, desires for you to be stripped of your morality, desires for you to be stripped of your dignity, desires for you to be stripped from your iman. Then you become addicted. You watch it, you watch it, you watch it. Then you have other things to come along with it. Maybe you seek out somebody to enact what you've seen, or worse than that, maybe you die doing these acts. So this makes the level go from a minor sin to a major sin. A minor sin to a major sin. And the Prophet, that's why he said, because that minor sin has the ability to go to a major sin. The Prophet says, so it's upon the fast, then to a level it's going to cut off the desires for that person. I'll make these 2 points, inshallah, and then we'll stop. I remember when we were in Yemen, and some of the tulab al-ilm, some of the students, they were single, they're from the Azibin. Some of them, they lived in the masjid. And some of them, they lived outside the masjid. They had little studios or one-room apartments with the bathrooms made, and they lived by themselves. Those are people who had money. So they came, they rented land, they leased land, they built these houses, just for single people. Sometimes they had a roommate, but a lot of them stayed at the masjid. So they used to ask the questions during the dars of the sheikh about fasting. When it was the first 10 days of the Hijjah, when it was, fasting, the fast of Dawood every other day, fasting Monday and Thursday, they were fasting. But they said in one of the questions to the sheikh, I've been fasting, one guy said, for like a year. And it's difficult, sheikh. I need to get married, my desires. And the Prophet said, and he mentioned this hadith, if you fast, it would cut off the desires. But it's not cutting off my desires. So the sheikh replied, and the Darsi said, it's not that the Prophet told you something that doesn't work. Hasha lillah. You think the Prophet told you something that doesn't work? He said, but it takes time. Has to kick in. The more you do it, 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 then it will start to work. You've been doing it 6 months, 3 months, maybe you've been fasting a year, it didn't kick in yet. Each person is different. He said, and if it's going to make you too weak, the fasting, when you sleeping through salah, you're not seeking knowledge, the Shaykh said, then for you leave off the fast and you seek ilm. You leave off the fast and you seek ilm, and we help you get married. He said, but it's not that what the Prophet told you doesn't work, because it said, for that person's going to weaken the desires. The Shaykh said, but it takes time. He said, and likewise, that person has to stay away from things that it heightens the desire. So you're fasting, but you're still looking at stuff that makes you have a desire. You're fasting, but you're still, almost talking to women. And of course, that wasn't happening to Maj, but during that time, people could buy magazines. They could go on Yahoo. They could go on the internet at the internet cafe. They couldn't look at stuff, but phones had just started coming out. So some people had phones, and they could get pictures sent from people. So Allah Muslim, don't ever think that what the Prophet is saying is false. That it doesn't work. Each person takes time. The more you do it, it'll cut off the desires. And you, me, anybody who's doing the fast, but she's still doing something to heighten the desire, then the desire is going to be heightened. You have to stay away from those things that builds the desire to get some sexual pleasure. You have to stay away from listening to things that excite the person's mind and body. If you do that, which is part of the taqwa of Allah Ta'ala, and you can't get married, Allah will make it easy for you, whether it's a little bit of ability or a lot. If Allah makes it easy for you, then the Prophet said marry. for whoever doesn't marry, and Allah made it easy for him, but he's not from amongst us. It's a major sin. He is opposed to Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and this we're going to bring from the Sunnah of Shaykh Abu Bakr ibn Abi Shayba, Razaq subhanahu wa ta'ala, to benefit us by what we heard, to bless us with those who are increased in knowledge, not ignorance by the narration that we heard from our Nabi and the Sahaba and the Tabi'een and those scholars of the great generations. Razaq subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for our shortcomings, to strengthen us in Iman, to make us from those who hear and obey. Razaq subhanahu wa ta'ala for self and safety. Hada sallallahu ala nabiyina Muhammad. Any questions? Any questions around the topic?
Yeah, one question. Just one.
It's never one question.
I promise it's only one.
It's never just only one.
There was one, I guess, you said, I think the prophet, I don't know. It was something you said, oh, you young men, whoever has a financial...
That's a hadith.
Hadith?
Yeah, that's a statement of your prophet.
Okay.
Continue.
It said, oh, you and whoever has the financial ability to take care of a woman, then you should marry her. I feel like it has to do more than that, because even people who are misled, who still are rich or have the financial ability to take care of a woman, maybe they're not ready to marry yet because, they're mentally misguided or greedy, have bad habits. But I feel like there's people, I feel like having the financial ability alone in itself to marry a woman is not good enough, because it could lead to bad desires.
Okay, so
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so let me ask you. You believe in Allah?
No.
Do you believe in His Nabi?
No.
Do you believe that the Nabi spoke from inspiration and direct revelation from Allah?
No.
Do you believe that the Nabi would make something up or speak from what he thinks or what society says, like you're doing now? No or yes?
Trying to understand the question.
Do you think that the Nabi will speak from what he thinks, what society says, or what he rationalized, like what you just did? You made a rationalization. Do you think he would do that? The Nabi? No. Okay, tight. So number one, back up. You're going to get some pushback from me, because what you're saying, even if you feel in all logic that it's right, how can you say that when the Nabi said something from Revelation? Now, the Prophet said, and that's why learning the Arabic is so primitive. We say that all the time. Not because we want, to say Arab is this and Arab is that. No, we're talking about understanding the Islam that we're talking about. So the Prophet said, whoever has ability. Now, that's a general word. So if we say abilities, can we say mental ability?
Yes.
Okay, if we say ability, can we say physical ability?
Yes.
If we say ability, then can we say compatibility? No. If we say ability, can we say religious ability? No. If we say ability, can we say righteousness in the person's deen and how they deal ability? You know what I mean? Let's say righteous. He's a righteous person, not to go out and do all kind of crazy sins. Okay. But the Prophet emphasized what ba'a. Ba'a means something to take care of the woman with. Because if you have all of the things, it checks out. You have no mental illness. I don't know, maybe you came a little late. We mentioned the person has to be sound. The person can't be insane. The person can be obviously stricken by the touch of a jinn, because jinns make you, if you have jinn possession, you're buggy. The person can't be a little boy. He has to be in puberty to know the right between what's right and wrong. To discern between what's right and wrong. We covered those things, although the Prophet didn't say it, because it's part of the meaning of ability. But when it came to wealth, many people might check out
on this side to be okay, but he don't have nothing. How you gonna marry a lady and you providing for the lady? You don't have a place to take her. You don't have, no ambition to even go out and hunt during that time. You have no ambition to go to the marketplace and sell something. If I say, here, take this, go to the marketplace, get busy. Oh man, I'm tired, I don't want to work. How you want to get married? The lady needs something to eat. If I say, here's a bucket, the well is over there, you can fetch water, fresh water from that well. Oh man, it's too hot, I ain't going. You have to have something to take care of the lady with. So that's the meaning of al-ba'a. We didn't just say money, we said al-ba'a. Because you can have money, but guess what? You're stingy. Not going to pay rent, not going to buy the house, you're not going to buy food, drink, you're not going to take her to the doctor, you're not going to get herbs, you're not going to, when she's sick, get her medicine. That's all a part of al-ba'a. The financial construct of the marriage part. But it's not just money in the bank. So our prophet is talking from Revelation. And he knew that society, many people didn't have a means because of the society they were in. But did they make dua? Then Allah would provide for you. Did they put their trust in Allah? And although you be poor, Allah will give you from His bounties? No, they didn't do that. When the prophet told them to do that, he started doing it, then those people start getting the ability from Allah to get married. So he gave the formulas. Same thing for us. Some people might not really have much money, much this, that, but if you fear of Allah, you're a Muslim, you want to be upright, you're making dua, you're crying in the night, and then you yourself are trying to be upright. Again, one of the problems when we talk about this issue, the Muslims, men will marry, but they exclude the Muslim lady. You'll go right and get somebody and say, that lady, oh, she's from the people of the book. That one don't believe in nothing. But because he don't want to marry the Muslim lady, because she might tell him, honey, don't forget you got to pray. He's not a person who prays. That's a thorn in his side. Because that lady, she's going to cover perhaps, and today, it's hard for them to cover, but, traditionally, the Muslim ladies have some top and she want to cover. But he wants a lady to wear booty shorts, show off her shape, So he don't want to marry the Muslim lady for a lot of reasons. He'll go and marry somebody and say, oh, the Prophet said we can marry from the people of the book. Allah allows that. They exclude the Muslim women. So even in this hadith, we have to emphasize, when the Prophet had mentioned it, this part of it. You got to look to the woman who has some deen. But you have to have some deen first. All of that is in the meaning that the Prophet gave. And so, never, ever, ever, as a Muslim, take a posture that something you think, or society, or logic, or some philosophical idea, you believe that over what the Prophet said. You might say, man, the Sheikh is bugged out because how am I going to believe something that doesn't make sense? Even if it doesn't make sense. If the Nabi said, you have to say it has to be right. Maybe there's some nuance to this, I don't know, or maybe it has a deeper meaning, but to go over the top of the Prophet, I don't think that's right. If you just have wealth, you could get married, because maybe you don't have this and that. That's kufriya. That's a statement of kufr. And the Muslims, they do that today. Relying innocently, purposely, no meaning harm. They sling the Prophet Sunnah in the trash. So that's why we have all of these problems in the world right now, including what's happening in Philistine. And people got to be fair. How you mention Philistine because of the numbers, and it's been going on since October, but you don't mention Yemen. Do you know the state of Yemen? How do you mention Philistine, but you don't mention Libya? Do you know the state of Libya? How do you mention Philistine, but guess what? You don't mention Somalia. All of those places, the same white man did that to the Muslim countries. Tore out the frame. Yeah. So what's the point? If we take this mentality, or if we fall into this idea that doesn't make sense because this, that, and the third, we disregard the Prophet, then Allah is not going to help us. We have to really believe in Allah and believe in this Nabi. We have to. So know for sure, not a prophet of Allah, maybe a prophet from Shaitan, who's a false prophet, but a prophet of Allah, he's not going to make an incomplete statement. When he says, whoever from amongst you back then, he's talking to his society. But it also still fits today's society. It's not old-fashioned. It fits today's society. If you have the ability, meaning physical ability, the desire, okay, also being mental, religious, all of those things, and then you have some means of taking care of the women, the Prophet said marry. But if you have all of those things and you have no way, no idea financially what you're going to do, how are you going to marry? What are you going to take the lady? Sleep outside like these people? Take her sleep in the park on the bench? Don't have nothing to eat, your bag, this, that, steal. Nah. Allah knows that. So, that part, the Prophet said that, yeah, Ma'ashar Shabbat, the group of people he went up to in this time, he went around, they strength and strong, get married. Because this is a responsibility. It's a responsibility, but it's going to save you from a lot of evil if you do it the right way, for the right reason, and you do it according to what Allah said, you'll be protected from a lot of evil. And if you can't, then the Prophet said fast. Some people say, well, I can't, so I'll masturbate. The Prophet didn't say masturbate. He said fast. Well, it's easy for me to masturbate because my desires, and if I fast, I'm going to be hungry. I don't like fast. The Prophet said fast. Why? Because masturbation is haram. But somebody might say, that don't make sense. Why would I fast over masturbation if my desire is real strong and I don't want to go out and commit adultery or fornication and get with a prostitute? That doesn't make sense. They might say that same thing. They might say that same thing. But the Prophet didn't tell you that. And he could have said, it's going to die to him. I need pleasure yourself. He did. He said, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. That fast is going to make you somebody who controls your desires in a lot of ways, controls your anger in a lot of ways, is going to lead you to being upright like Ramadan does. And you will be a person that Allah will bless you anyway. If you're fasting, you're making dua, you're staying away from evil. We're going to bless you eventually to be able to get married with all of the things. But if you think you have another way than what the Prophet said, then Allah we will really destroy it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enlighten us, overlook our shortcomings, increase us in knowledge. And this is the benefit of coming sit and relax in this class. You just got something that you might not have forgotten if you didn't come to this class. So may Allah bless you for making a tremendous effort. May Allah increase your knowledge. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make you from those who have the ability and the physical and the financial and the mental and the spiritual and the religious means to get married, that you may be married, inshallah, without going to the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So far, I didn't understand.